Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. On the agenda tonight, we have ZZ Top, and I saw ZZ Top live a few years ago, but this is going to be a video coming from 1976, and this is their performance of Chevrolet. So let's get these guys up on screen and see how they get on.
Take her out on a Chevrolet one time.
I'm just going to stop it there before the solo kicks in, because ZZ Top as a three-piece makes such a great sound, such a full sound as well. And that is mostly in part to Billy Gibbons' lead guitar sound, his rhythm guitar sound, just the way that it's so thick. I mean, if you listen to the track here, it's mostly just Billy's guitar filling out all of that sound. Obviously, great vocal on top as well. And this is the other thing about being a three-piece and also having harmonies, that Dusty Hill has got a great voice as well when he backs up Billy with those vocals, and you get a really strong second vocal line. When you put both of their voices together, it just really gives it a full sound, and not a lot of bands achieve that in that three-piece setup. Even bands that have that three-piece setup and have a designated frontman struggle sometimes to fill out the sound. There's nothing worse than having a three-piece where that rhythm guitar and the lead guitar are really weak and the sound is just all bass and drums, which is sometimes okay if you've got a really great bassist and drummer, but if you haven't, then you're going to be in trouble. It's that great blues rock, southern rock sound that is their signature sound, but they also had a great ear for melody. I mean, Gimme All Your Lovin', I mean, everyone knows that track. Even if you don't know who ZZ Top are, people know that from karaoke and from just every cover band you've ever seen, always have that in their set. So ZZ Top not only had the ability to play a really great three-piece setup, really fill out the sound, great vocals, great harmony vocals as well, great rhythm section, drums and bass really solid, but they could pair that with songwriting, which is always the last thing in the chain that you need, that is absolutely essential to connect with people and be popular and for people to like your stuff. And sometimes you'll get bands who are really great at playing their instruments and are really tight, and they seem to have everything but the songs, and unfortunately it's a make and break thing. Unfortunately, there's been so many great guitarists who have flown under the radar just because they didn't have a hit. They didn't have one song that hit a nerve with the mainstream audience, and unfortunately they can be the best guitarist in the world, but if you can't put yourself on that platform to have a song that connects with a wide range of people and a massive amount of the population, then your playing is pretty much going to stay underground. Even if you are a really great player and you've got great technique and great groove and great soul, unfortunately a lot of guitarists have to then resort to playing covers of other people's compositions so that they can then put themselves above their normal audience, because people are tuning in to see that original song covered by somebody else. And that's where they can start to get a little bit of an audience and then turn people onto their own original material. but it happens all the time. It's one of those things that everybody does it, and even I do it on my channel. I get things requested, people want to hear songs that they like and hear a different version of it. But ZZ Top were one of those bands that could supply the writing, the most important part at the end of doing all your practice, doing all your rehearsing, getting a live show down. You've then got to write something that's going to connect with people, and ZZ Top definitely did that. And then we're back into the verse. Quick shout out there to Frank on drums, Frank Beard. What a great little drum break that was. Just a really great little solo section where he really, again, it's a really great sound. It's not as if bands in this era had loads of reverb and loads of delay and different ways of filling out the sound. They just had their guitar tones, and even the drum kit here is a really dry sound, but it sounds really cool because they're such great musicians in their own right. They can get your attention and keep your attention for as long as they want on their instruments. So great little drum break there from Frank. Another thing, as I always say with the top bands, is this appreciation of dynamic. We've gone straight from that guitar solo into that little drum solo, now into a really understated verse, just to let that vocal stand out, and also just to bring the dynamic down just for the end of the song, to then give you somewhere to take it at the end of the song for that crescendo. When you're watching your favorite bands, don't let that slip under the radar. Just have a little look at the way they change the dynamics throughout even just one track. You can look at it, take a step back and look at a whole show and see how they plan out the whole show dynamically. But the great bands do it all within these songs as well, not just a whole show. They'll take you on a journey within every single song. And even with the three-piece here, they're getting exactly the same effect that a band would get that have a lot more members, but ZZ Top can pull it off. Another thing just about Billy's solo there, really great technique and really great melody. Again, one of the things that you're going to find when you're playing in a three-piece is that with guitar, you can't go off on single notes because the whole sound will drop out. And Billy is so good at playing lines quickly that are melodic, that have a melody that you can repeat. The sign of a great player, someone who can write a melody within their solo that is all part of the same song. You're exactly as involved in the song as you were before the solo, after the solo. So it's not as if you've been bored for 10 or 20 seconds waiting for the solo to finish. That whole solo is just seamlessly weaved in melodically to the track so that you're not aware of being bored at any time throughout the solo. You're straight back into the song and it's seamless. So let's have a little listen to this to the end. And there we go, there it is. So another thing to mention just quickly here is that I love the way that Dusty, with the backing vocals, throws in lines like they're a lead vocal, which gives you such a great doubling up of that vocal effect. So you've got that harmony vocal, and then Dusty will just throw in a really cool vocal line, like I mentioned earlier, good enough to be a lead vocal by itself. ZZ Top have got a great lead vocal 2 times over, and you don't get that in a lot of bands. The bands where that is the case, where they have a lead vocal and then other harmony vocals that are good enough to be a lead vocal, those bands have always been huge, and they've always had huge hits as well. So when you've got 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people that are just great singers, you can come up with so much great melody, and that just lends itself to writing really great songs. Another thing that I always mention is that rhythm section. Have a little listen to how solid that bass is. That we've got Dusty's bass, really solid. Even when he's singing the vocals, he's never letting up with that solid bass line. And like I mentioned before, we got Frank on drums, did a really cool little solo there, but a really solid drum beat. And he actually pushes the tempo in places, especially on that drum solo, just speeds it up a little bit, but then brings it back down again for the verse. So again, really subtle control of tempo by Frank that might go unnoticed unless you're looking out for it. But again, it's that journey. You don't want to get to a drum solo and find that it's lagging and it doesn't have enough energy in it. So Frank just ups the tempo for that, and as soon as the verse comes in, just gradually eases off that tempo again to get back into that groove that you'll need for the singing. Obviously, if it's really fast and Billy's trying to sing, he's now trying to fit the words in a gap that now isn't big enough to fit all the words in, and it's an absolute recipe for disaster unless your drummer knows exactly what he's doing. Frank does here, speeds it up for the solo, slows it back down again for the verse and that end chorus. So they're really on top of everything here. Dynamics, playing, harmonies, solo, and can make such a great noise as a 3-piece. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!